Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick, and I cannot believe we are already heading to week 4 of the NFL football season. And so we are going to be talking about starts and sits for this week. We're going to go through game by game and get you set up so you know which players have great matchups and which ones have terrible matchups for this week so you can win your fantasy. Here we go.
Listen up. It's time for the Fantasy Maverick podcast, starring the guy who's going to help you win that fantasy championship, Jimmy Maverick.
Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick podcast. And with me to discuss the starts and sits for week 4, we got my good friend Swami Rob of the 94 Rock Morning Show. How you doing today, Swami?
I got some big news for the 94 Rock Morning Show Fantasy League this morning.
Oh, well, please share. Let me know what's going on.
I will. So we were working it for a while, and we'd like to thank our good friends at BIOS here in Albuquerque. And BIOS has been around forever. They're great. And so the winner of the 94 Rock Morning Show Fantasy League is going to win a big, giant, flat-screen HD TV.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Pretty cool. And then they were cool enough to throw in another one that you don't even have to be in a fantasy league for. All you got to do is go to 94rock.com and register daily, and we'll just draw a random winner for the people who did get in the league at the end of the season, too. So they gave us 2 TVs. So as a matter of fact, as I checked the standings for this for our morning show league, there's no chance you and I will be walking with that TV as of right now. But it looks like right now, let's see here. We got Open TDs. We got the Marvel Universe, Zeke and Destroy, and at Urtzwin IP are our top 4. Actually, Lobsters would make 5. Now, I'm guessing Open TDs changed their name because they were first before this. So they might have changed their team name. I'm in 7th. You're in 11th.
Yeah, and I also saw that you and I have had the most points scored against us in this league. I was like, well, it's a very nice gift that we're giving to the other players, that we're letting them score so many points on us. And it doesn't matter. Like for me, my team, I'm 3rd in points. 3rd. And I'm at 0-3. I can't believe it.
Oh, you are at 3rd, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, it's just like
I
have scored a tremendous amount of points in this league, and yet I have not won a game yet. So,
well, it's not like we're doing horribly. You've scored 397, and I've scored 376. We don't suck. We just aren't good.
Well, it's just that the players that happen to play us just happen to have an awesome week when they're playing us. So this week I got the Lobsters. So we'll see can I finally notch my first win. I'm actually an underdog in this game, and so maybe that's what I need to be. I need to be the underdog so I can come in and win.
Well, you know, the injury thing has really taken a toll on this particular team for me, because not only did I lose Mostert and McCaffrey 2 weeks ago, but I thought, well, I've got Tariq Cohen sitting on the bench. He might do me all right. I put him in there to start now. He's out for the year. So apparently I'm the kiss of death for ACLs.
Jeez, man. I'm actually I ended up having a great week, and I'll tell you why. Because I have lots of shares of Alvin Kamara and Patrick Mahomes across my leagues, and of course both those guys scored over 40 points in week 3. I just have to say, Swami, where is the defense? There is no defense this year. I mean, it is all offensive razzle dazzle. In week 3, 41 players scored 20 or more points. That is insane. Yeah. And 10 players scored 30 or more points in week 3. It is just offensive razzle dazzle and not a hint of nasty defenses holding down your fantasy scores this year, man. No,
there hasn't been much of that, but I've alternated defenses for fantasy. That's never a big point getter in the first place generally. But one defense that's actually done okay fantasy-wise. I'm not saying they've done okay NFL-wise. Tampa Bay's defense has done all right for me the last couple of weeks. They haven't been bad.
Yeah, I've got lots of shares of the Tampa Bay defense. I'm so happy that I picked them up. I knew they would be really good this year because of what they did in the second half of last season. They were one of the top defenses last year for the second half of the 2019 season. So I'm happy to see that they have come on very strong. But yeah, there's not many out there. I mean, like I've got lots of shares of the Buffalo defense. I thought the Buffalo defense would be rock solid, and they've come away with 2 points against the Rams and 3 points against Miami. I mean, it's just like, how could they let Miami do that much damage to them? There's just, again, across the league, it is all offense. Russell Wilson right now is on pace to exceed Peyton Manning's season at Denver, where he scored 55 touchdowns. Russell Wilson's on pace to throw 75 touchdown passes this year.
Yeah, against the Dallas secondary alone. Against the Dallas secondary alone, he's going to get that many. I've got him on 3 of my 4 teams. He's been my savior. I also broke a cardinal rule this week because I had no choice. But you're always screaming and yelling about improving your team. Always improve your team. Now, as this roster of mine in one particular league, the one I was just talking about, has had running backs go down. Boom, boom, boom. I'm turning to the waiver wire, and I'm looking at Rex Burkhead, and I'm thinking, the week he had last week is an outlier. No Belichick running back will ever do that 2 weeks in a row. We know this historically. Yet, there's nobody else on that waiver wire worth a damn. So I had to put in a waiver claim for him, and I got him. So I'll start him this week, and he'll end up with like 2 points. You know it's going to happen. That's how Belichick rolls.
Well, you know, they're saying James White is not going to play again this week, so I think he's probably a decent he's probably a decent stream for this week. I think
decent won't cut it. I need good.
He's going to catch passes, and that's something that Sony Michel does not do at all.
Right.
So no one else is going to take that work away from him. So you know, I think he'll be decent for this week. So I think you got a good streamer in there.
Well, all right, then at that point, we need Mustard off IR, and we need McCaffrey to make a miraculous 2-week early healing, and then I'm good. But seriously, these injuries are freaking insane. And we haven't even talked about the fact that if you've got Jonnu Smith, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Cook, Dalvin Cook, just Jefferson, this COVID outbreak, this is a problem. And I think we knew this was going to happen at some point. And frankly, I'm surprised it took this long. Yeah,
I mean, it was, you know, pretty impressive that they went through the first 2 weeks with no issues. But
right.
Yeah, now the whole thing with Tennessee is up in the air. They're playing Pittsburgh this week. Is that the matchup? I think.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Pittsburgh. So we're talking a lot of fantasy damage if this game is postponed or canceled. You know, so
well, it's going to be. They're saying now that ESPN was reporting as early as a couple hours ago that what they're looking at is possible Monday night doubleheader and see what transpires between now and then, and maybe delay the game a day. I don't know what good that's going to do. And then I also heard put out there that they may delay it as late as Thursday. But how does that work when the team's got to turn around and play again 2 days later? So I don't see that scenario.
Jeez, that would be really brutal to force them to do 2 games within 3 days of each other. Boy. Yeah. So we got a lot of stuff dealing with here. Why don't we just delve into the games this week, and we'll talk about the starts and sits and go from there. So the Thursday night game, man, this is a marquee matchup. We got the 0-3 Broncos against the 0-3 Jets. Who's going to end up with a win finally?
Well, you know, Bronco fans, I hate to break it to you, but you know as well as I do, largely due to injury, your team's prospects this year are bleak to none. You're probably looking at 1-15, but this is going to be your one.
That's going to be the
1-15. So take it. Yeah, exactly.
It is tough. But I got to say, with both these teams, I think if you're streaming defenses, I think both the Broncos and the Jets defense are good plays this week because there's going to be turnovers. There's going to be sacks. There's going to be all sorts of messed up stuff happening to the offenses. So why not roll with it? I'm good with going with either of those defenses if you stream the defenses. So,
you know, I just had Coach Brian Billick on the morning show with me this morning, and we were talking about his new book. And he's talking about this thing called the Q factor, where it's the intangibles that quarterbacks possess other than the metrics when they get drafted in the first round. He brought up the 2018 class, and I asked him specifically, are Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold just playing badly and they're a bust, or are they just victims of bad organizations? And he told me point blank, do not give up on Sam Darnold yet. He just needs to get a couple of receivers around him, and I think he's going to surprise. So while I'm not suggesting you start him by any means this week, maybe in a couple of years he'll change your mind, because I kind of thought maybe the ship had sailed with him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I could start either the Broncos or the Jets quarterback this week. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
The only real good start I see for the Thursday night game is Melvin Gordon. The Jets are giving up the 4th most points to running backs, and you know Philip Lindsay may be back, but he still is dealing with that toe issue. So I think they're going to be very light in his workload. So, but really, he's the only start I can see in this game, besides if you want to start a defense. And I think I've got a waiver claim out right now for the Broncos defense this week in one of my leagues, because I was rolling with like the Eagles, and the Eagles are playing San Francisco. I do not want to start that defense this week.
No, probably not. Probably not.
But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Also, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, I'm putting them as sits because the Jets are not an easy defense to pass on. They're pretty solid on that as far as that aspect. So really the only start I can comfortably say is Melvin Gordon for this week.
Yep, sounds good.
So let's go to the Sunday games. Sunday early, we've got the Ravens at Washington. How are the Ravens going to bounce back from that beatdown they got by Patrick Mahomes, man? That was, I mean, for most odds makers were saying that the Ravens were going to go 16-0 this year just because they were so solid on both sides of the ball, but they got their butts handed to them on Monday night. I mean, it was just
they looked horrible.
Yeah.
They looked horrible.
Far as
no better thing to fix what ails you.
What's that?
I said no better way to fix what ails you if you're Baltimore than to see what's on your schedule, because Dwayne Haskins is no Patrick Mahomes. There's no Washington's defense or offense that resembles anybody from KC.
And how long is it till Dwayne Haskins gets benched? I mean, Rivera was talking about there's only so much they're going to give him. And I think once why am I drawing a blank on his name? Oh, Alex Smith. Once Alex Smith, because he's been cleared to play. He's just kind of been there lurking in the background. How long till he regains control of this offense? I think it's not a very good situation
2 weeks
for Washington. How many weeks? How many?
2 weeks. Good. And you know what, man? Good for Alex Smith. That injury was equal parts, if not more brutal than the Theismann injuries. I'm pulling for the guy, so I'd love to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've seen Teddy Bridgewater have very nice success this year, doing very well, coming back from his brutal injury of a few years back. So, good for him, man. Good for him for making that happen. Now, as far as the Washington goes, man, I can't really see myself starting anyone. I've got Antonio Gibson as a sit because the Ravens have given up the third fewest points to running backs. Actually, that's not true. Logan Thomas actually might be a decent start this year. He's been given 7+ targets a game, and the Ravens are giving up the fourth most points to tight ends. Logan Thomas actually looks like a decent streaming start for tight end if you're having trouble in that position right now.
I don't even know who that dude is.
Well, he's just the tight end for Washington. So we also got, let's see, for another start as far as on the other side of the ball. I'm sorry. So go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay. So on the other side of the ball for the Ravens, Mark Andrews is looking like a great start this week. Washington's given up the 6th most points to tight ends. But I got to tell you, man, I got to sit the Ravens RBs right now because their usage is just not great. There's too many, in that backfield to be able to get a decent option there. And then, Washington is top 12 against the run. So, I don't like that. I don't like Hollywood Brown because of his limited volume. He's only getting like 6 targets a game, and he's facing a top 7 pass defense. There's a lot of problems with this game, and it's all going to hinge on, can Lamar Jackson finally start looking like Lamar Jackson again? He really hasn't been looking like it the past few weeks.
Well, yeah, he doesn't play well against Kansas City historically, and that continues. I've been relying on J.K. Dobbins to do something for me, and it looks like that's going to have to wait another week. But I'm counting on him without injuries anyway. But, nobody on Baltimore's offense, save Andrews, has really knocked me out too much at all.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's just kind of like a wait and see. But the only one on the Ravens that I can really comfortably start is Mark Andrews. And, of course, Lamar Jackson. If you got him, you're going to start him. So let's go. We were just talking about this, man. The Steelers and the Titans, both these teams are sitting at 3-0. But we've got this COVID issue. So we got a potential delay in that game. We'll have to see what happens. But if it happens, man, there's some great starts. I'm looking at starts. James Conner, Tennessee is top 10 for running backs. Eric Ebron, he's seen increasing usage in each of his first 3 weeks. He's got a very favorable matchup here. Corey Davis, because A.J. Brown is still out. Pittsburgh is top 10 for opposing wide receivers. Yeah, I mean, there's some great starts here if the game happens. Well, the question is it going to happen, man? Because if it doesn't, that's going to blow a hole in a lot of
here's the other
teams.
Well, you also got to keep something else in mind. If this happens, Gostkowski had a big week last week, but one of the 3 players infected in Tennessee is their long snapper. That could have implications, man. And so if you're starting Gostkowski, you might want to think about that one again.
That could be an issue. Jeez, man. I mean, it's just it's very messy. So we'll just have to keep up and follow through to see what happens if the game actually does happen on Sunday. If it happens on Monday, I think that's fine. I think we're good. But when you're saying that delaying it potentially to the following Thursday, that's crazy, man. That's really bad for both those teams, not just for the week 4, but for the week 5.
Well, I think the idea was just being bandied about. Yeah, I think that idea was just being bandied about by some people on talk shows. There's no way they could do that. No way.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. So next up, let's hear what we got. We got the Chargers at the Bucks, and the Bucks defense rolling, doing really, really well. One of the few defenses that's actually doing well this season. I've got, but as far as the Chargers go, man, sit Justin Herbert, sit Hunter Henry, because Tampa Bay's top 10 against tight ends. So there's really not. Those guys are definitely sits. Everyone else, though, I'm okay with starting. The only Tampa Bay wide receiver I would start is Mike Evans, because the Chargers defense is super tough against the pass, and Godwin is probably out. And also Fournette and Jones are very risky against the Chargers, because the Chargers are the 4th toughest defense to run against. So there's not a lot of great options this week for this game. What do you think?
Grunt coming to life, maybe?
Yeah, maybe Gronk. I mean, geez. Again, it's just, is it going to be Gronk, or maybe are they just going to go back to O.J. Howard? And the volume on both has not been super great. Gronk had 4 targets in weeks 1 and 2. He got 7 last week, which is great. But what's going to happen next week? Is it going to go back to 1 or 2 targets? I just don't trust that situation at all. I would have to keep Gronk on the bench.
Yeah. I'm with you.
So next up, we got the Seahawks at the Dolphins. Like I said earlier, the Seahawks are totally rolling right now. Both defenses totally suck. So, the only Seattle player I would sit is probably Greg Olsen, because Miami is actually top 6 against the tight end. But every other Seahawk, you got to start him, man. There's so much production on this offense. Last week, I don't know if do you have Tyler Lockett in any of your teams that you also have Russell Wilson? Because that stack would have gotten you 85 points last week, just those 2 players. I actually do have that in one of my leagues, so I'm pretty jazzed about that.
Nice.
On the other side of the ball, Mike Gesicki is a sit, because the Seattle defense is actually tough against. Mike Gesicki and Myles Gaskin are both sits for me, because the Seattle defense is really tough against both the tight end and the running back. But if you need a streaming quarterback, Fitzmagic is good, man. Seattle's given the 2nd most points to quarterbacks. And Devontae Parker and Preston Williams, again, I like them both this week. Seattle is giving up the most points to wide receivers. So there's going to be plenty of Fitzmagic razzle-dazzle this week. I like all those guys from the Miami side.
My understanding, Chris Carson's out, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding that Tristan Hill rolling on his ankle like he did, and everybody's saying that was a dirty hit. I watched the replay 100 times. It didn't feel dirty to me, but he got knocked over on that guy's ankle by accident. And I'm not being a Cowboys apologist, because I generally don't, but I don't think that was intentional. I really don't. But you were mentioning start everybody in the Seattle offense, maybe except Carson.
Well, I don't think Carson's going to play, but Carlos Hyde is definitely a start for me this week. So, like I said, the only Seattle player I would sit is Greg Olsen, and he's a tight end too, anyways. So, But let's hear now. Next up, we've got the Vikings at the Texans. Again, a matchup of two 0-3 teams. Who is finally going to get the win this week? Who do you think is going to do it?
I think it's going to be COVID-19 when 2 or 3 Vikings come down with after playing Tennessee last week, and we're looking at another game that might get delayed.
That is true. That is a possibility. You know, as far as if and when these teams do play each other, I think Deshaun Watson is finally going to get the win. I think the Texans are a better team than the Vikings this year. But the Texans defense is not daunting.
Easily.
So Thielen's a start. Jefferson's a start. Really, every Texan is a startable asset against this horrible Vikings defense. They're bottom 10 against the pass and the run. So, you know, it's just like, just go with it. And I think the Texans will be very productive. So let's see here.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So what's next? Let's hear. We got the Lions, the Saints at the Lions. The Saints are reeling. Is Drew Brees washed up, man? Is he done?
As long as they got Kamara, they're going to be in games. So I think it could coast for a little while.
Yeah, and Michael Thomas might be back this week. They're saying he is a possibility that he will be able to start. And I got to say, man, all this talk about Drew Brees being washed, this is an excellent matchup for him this week. Detroit is top 7 for opposing quarterbacks. So with the addition of Michael Thomas being back, I think we could see a very productive day from Drew Brees, although he's not what he used to be, man. He's not what he was. Stafford also has a really nice matchup now that Golladay is healthy. So I think he's going to bounce back really strong. The only person I would say sit is Marvin Jones because it is a tough matchup for wide receivers. But Golladay is now the primary receiver. I think Golladay will be good. And T.J. Hawkinson is also very, very good choice here as New Orleans has been giving up the most points to tight ends this season. So there's lots of great options in this game. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here.
Unless, of course, you own Kerry Johnson, who I launched 2 weeks ago. What a waste of time.
Yeah, that backfield, you know, you can't trust anybody in that backfield. I mean, Adrian Peterson, I guess, you know.
Nope.
I have no shares of Adrian Peterson.
Well, he's getting a start this week. Announced he's getting a start this week. After I don't know what took him so long. So maybe you get lucky there. Who knows?
Yeah, I know. Hopefully you're not relying on Adrian Peterson as a startable running back. So let's hear. Who do we got now? Oh, the Browns at the Cowboys. So what's going on with the Cowboys, man? Again, very productive offense and a non-existent defense, man. I mean, I just can't believe how people are rolling up points on this team.
I'm not surprised at all.
Okay.
I really like Daquan Diggs. I think he's good, but no, I knew the defense was going to be trash before the season even started, before guys even got hurt. Yeah, the Cowboys organization is just a mess from the top to the bottom. I don't think people realize it. But, hey, man, roll with the offensive guys. Don't you dare take their defense.
Yeah, I mean, as far as starts this week, Dak, all the receivers, and the tight end Dalton Schultz are all great as the Cleveland defense is mostly good at stopping the run. They're less effective against the pass. So I'd anticipate a pass-heavy offensive game here. And then on the other side of the ball, I really like OBJ and Landry as Dallas's top 2 for opposing receivers. So there's going to be good production for both those guys this week. Now, the next up, we got the Jags at the Bengals, a battle of 2 massively underwhelming teams. Again, poor defenses, but decent offenses. And so there is a potential here for some good fantasy points. James Robinson is a start because the Bengals can't stop anyone on the ground. Let's see here. If DJ Chark is back, he would definitely be a start, but Minshew has a really tough matchup against the Bengals. So I would sit Minshew this week. But Joe Burrow, I think, is a great starting streaming quarterback. Jags defense is top 5 for opposing quarterbacks. So there's lots of good stuff here. Cincinnati receivers, a little bit of a problem because Jags are top 10 against wide receivers. But the dice roll of the week for me would be Drew Sample, the tight end, who got 1 target in week 1. He got 9 targets in week 2, so everybody picked him up. And he got 1 target in week 3, but now he gets an excellent matchup. It might be the primary point of attack against the Jags because they have a poor defense against tight ends, but they're much better against wide receivers. So I think he's going to be the focus again. Certainly rolling the dice there, but he might be worth a start.
I what you said on all that.
And let's see here. Boy, a lot of games, man. Colts at Bears. We got what do you think of this game, man? This is an interesting game because I can't really get a read on either of these teams, man. What do you think?
I think the Bears are going to tick up a little bit with Foles at quarterback. That Indy defense is doing what I thought they would before the season started. For one, so used to an Indy team being offensive based, I think they're just going to hang their hat on their defense. And I think the Bears are going to get more than a little bit. I think Indy rules them.
Yeah, so just to let you know, you need to be a little bit closer because I can't hear you real well right now.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right.
So,
yeah, like I said, I think Indy's going to roll them.
Yeah, as much as they can. I mean, obviously, JT, Jonathan Taylor is awesome, but I think Rivers is a drop right now. He is just not doing anything for that offense. The rest of the Indy offense is, I think they're all good starts. All the skill positions should be good this week, except for Rivers, and then. I would say sit all Chicago players if you can because the matchups across the board are terrible. And this goes to the Indy defense being actually pretty good. Top 3 against wide receivers, top 5 against running backs, number 1 against quarterbacks and tight ends. So that is a daunting matchup. Where can the Bears find a decent point of attack against this defense? There doesn't appear to be any. So I am not liking the Chicago players this week at all.
Yep. I haven't all season, to be honest with you.
So Cardinals at Panthers. Again, this looks like finally will Kenyon Drake get his breakout because the Panthers are second best to run against. So, Drake's been getting decent volume. He's been getting 16 to 20 16 to 20 touches a game, 1 to 2 targets a game. I'd like to see that be higher. But with that sort of a volume against a poor run defense like Carolina, he should finally notch a breakout game. I think he's going to be good this week.
Carolina's defense is I like anybody's chance to start against them. So anybody that started against them this year has done great. Just about every time.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Cardinals receivers, I don't trust anyone outside of Hopkins right now, although I do think Isabella is worth a pickup. If I don't know if anybody put any waiver claims on him, I think he's worth rostering right now just to see what happens with Kirk being out, to see if he can maybe notch a bigger role. But 4 targets isn't going to do it for fantasy, so he's got to be getting himself into the 6-7 targets a week before I'd feel comfortable starting him. Otherwise, he's just a dice roll on a touchdown, basically. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, I say are sits this week. Arizona is number 2 against wide receivers. And Mike Davis, the running back for the Panthers, is definitely a start this week, against the Cardinals defense. They're not very good against the run. So that's what it looks like for those games.
I filled 2 holes with Mike Davis for injured running backs last week, and I kind of had a feeling about him. He didn't blow it up, but didn't suck. So I'm going to keep riding him for a while.
Yeah, I think he's a decent option right now, and you can use him for the next couple of weeks until CMC finally comes back. So now the Sunday afternoon games.
That's what I'm talking about.
We got a blowout alert here. Giants at the Rams. Doesn't look good for the Giants this year, man. Not good at all.
No chance.
I'm calling this. The Giants are the garbage time special. So I think Daniel Jones and all the New York receivers are a start, as I expect them to be behind substantially by the end of the first half and then they're just going to be playing catch up. So garbage time starts for those guys.
Yeah, well, is Shepard going to play this week? He was out last week, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play, but Slayton, Tate, I think those guys could be decent options this week. As far as on the other side of the field, I would sit Jared Goff. I would sit Tyler Higbee as the Giants defense is actually top 10 against quarterbacks and tight ends. But start Darrell Henderson. He's been great for the past 2 weeks. Cam Akers is still probably out. Great matchup. I think Darrell Henderson is absolutely worth a start this week.
Yeah. All right.
So we then have the Bills at the Raiders. Obviously, Raiders a little disappointing last week. Getting beat by Bill Belichick, you knew that was going to happen. I was kind of shocked at how well the Patriots were able to shut down Darren Waller last week. I was not expecting what did he get, two catches? They totally shut him down.
2 points. 2 points.
Yeah. Bills defense has not been great. They've been very mediocre this season. What are your thoughts on this game? Who do you think is going to win this?
Man, Darren Waller only scoring 2 last week really killed me. It cost me a game that I was real close, as a matter of fact. I kind of them to bounce back a little. Like you said, Buffalo's defense hasn't been away like I expected. The story's been Josh Allen there this year. So I hope Waller comes back. Jacobs does too.
Yeah, I think Waller is definitely going to bounce back this week. I think it's a good matchup against the Bills defense. I also like Singletary this week as far as Moss is still out, and the Las Vegas run D is very favorable for running backs. So that should be good. Although I do think you should sit all the Buffalo receivers, as Vegas is top 5 against that position. So, it's going to be, it's not going to be a great day. I think it's going to be mostly done on the ground as far as the Bills gameplay against the Raiders. All the Raiders, though, are good to start, should be productive in this matchup. Again, the Bills defense has just not been that great. So here's kind of the marquee matchup. I'm surprised this didn't get to be the Sunday night or the Monday night game. Patriots at the Chiefs. Boy, who do you think New England is going to focus in on to shut down? What part of that offense are they going to shut down?
You got me on that. They'll probably go key on Kelsey or Hill, right? And
yeah,
because you're going to shut Mahomes down. So.
I think it's going to be they're going to try to do to Kelsey what they did to Waller. That's going to be the best part of them trying to shut down. So I think Kelsey is a risky start this week, but you're not going to bench him. You're not going to bench Kelsey if you have him on your team.
Oh, hell no.
As far as, obviously you're going to start. I'm going to start every Kansas City player I have. On the other side, though, the New England receivers do not have a good matchup. Kansas City is number 1 against wide receivers. So I think Edelman and Harry are going to have a rough day. I would not start those guys if you can avoid it. And then Cam Newton, obvious start. And White misses, Burkhead's a start as well. So I think that's good.
With Kansas City drilling, trying to hold on to Kelsey like they did Darren Waller last week. Good luck with that, because the Raiders don't have McCole Hardman. And the receiving core, the Chiefs down, that's small solace, man. They've got plenty of other guys that can kill you, and they will.
Right. So we only got 2 games left. We got Sunday Night Football. I don't understand why this is the Sunday night game. Eagles at the Niners. I think the only question is how many points are the Niners going to beat the Eagles by? Is it going to be 10, 20 points, more?
Well, I think the reason this ended up being the Sunday night game is because it was a sexy-looking matchup before the season started. They're not flexing games yet. So now the network execs 3 weeks ago were looking at that and they're going, man, I wish we could have had that one. Into the season, not knowing what feel about any of these teams right now, but this would have stand. Yeah, Philadelphia's going to get shredded. And great, Jarek McKinnon had a huge week for me. need another one of those out of him. So bring it, Philadelphia. Perfect.
Yeah, and I gotta say I'm getting the unstable internet connection, so we might it might disconnect here. Hopefully it won't. But as far as the Eagles, man, I'd sit every Eagle you can. Santa Fe is tops against running backs, number 2 against tight ends, top 7 against quarterbacks. They are a beast of a defense to deal with, and Carson Wentz is not playing well. The wide receivers for the Eagles might be decent options because San Francisco is kind of weak against wide receivers. So Greg Ward, Deshaun Jackson, if he comes back. And then on the other side of the ball, Brandon Ayuk is a start because it is a nice matchup and there's limited receiving options still for the Niners. I don't even know, is Kittle going to be back? They talked that he's probably going to play week 4.
They're talking like he might be, but nobody's.
Right. So, and Philly is top 10 against the run. So McKinnon and Wilson, maybe not great choices this week, although the Niners are pretty damn good at running the ball. So I'm not sure. I think they'll still be able to have their way, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And then finally, we got Monday Night Football. We got the Falcons at the Packers. The Falcons, huge disappointment this year. They've been able to score points, but geez, how many meltdowns can they have? How many big leads can they lose this season? It's just amazing how they've been unable to close out a game. And against the Packers, who are doing very well, I'm thinking that the Falcons are going to go 0-4. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Even though this is probably going to be a pretty good game for fantasy. This looks like a good fantasy game.
Yeah. And if you ask, careful about that question, how many games can they melt down in? Because as long as things have been going like they have, and Dan Quinn's still the coach, then I think the answer that would be a lot more. So that's just looking how it is to me.
It's very disappointing because there's such great talent on the Falcons offense. So many good players. And I just wanted to say that, all summer on my drafting app, it was saying 4th round, the top choice is Calvin Ridley. But I kept talking myself out of it because I didn't think that Ridley was going to get enough volume to be a 1. And I was going running back in the first 3 rounds. So I was going to draft my wide receiver 1 in the 4th round. And I just couldn't convince myself to take Ridley as my 1. Why didn't I listen to my app? Because instead I took players like Woods or Thielen or Sutton, and none of those guys have been up to what Ridley has done this year. And, I just got to listen to my app when my app is telling me something obvious, that you should take this player. And my teams would have been like immensely stronger had I done that. But anyway, as far as the matchups go in this game, I actually really like Todd Gurley. Green Bay is 3rd best for running backs. So I think Gurley's going to have a real productive day. And if you're desperate, Brian Hill might be worth a flex start as well. The one player I don't like on the Falcons is Hayden Hurst, as Green Bay is top 10 against tight ends. But for Green Bay, man, everyone, start them all. It's going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be, I don't even know what the over-under on this game, but I put the over-under at about 70 points on this game for sure. So there's going to be a lot of points scored, a lot of fantasy goodness for sure.
Last week, one of my fantasy leagues I was dominating in, but it was close enough at the end that she's actually a pretty good player. And she had Lazard going into the Sunday night game my house played. And by halftime, game over, man. Lazard blew him up.
Yeah, this past week I had someone started Rex Burkhead in their flex. And I was like laughing at him. I'm like, I am going to destroy this team. And you know what? My team, it's happened so many times this season that team scored 162 points. My team scored 162 points, and I lost by 30 against this opponent. And one of the reasons was Rex Burkhead got like 29 points. It was, again, it's just a gonzo crazy year where things are happening. But at least most things went my way this week. I was very happy that because after the Sunday afternoon games, all my leagues, I was like neck and neck with my players. Just like, oh man, it can go either way. I'm like,
nice.
The projections were like within 1 point of each other. But by the end of Kamara and Mahomes, I basically blew out everybody. So I'm like, woohoo, that's great.
Yeah, cool. Nice.
So hopefully my fortunes will turn in the 94 Rock Morning Show League. And finally, I'll start to notch some wins to go with all the points I'm scoring. Points are not the problem for me, man. It's just being able to score more than my opponent. So, Lobsters, we got to look at that matchup because those guys are going to be huge this week, according to what's happened so far.
Yeah. I haven't even this week. I haven't even bothered to look. As a matter of fact, let's go. Let's check it out right now. You want to? Let's see here. Looks like I am matched up against your lips on my pigskin, and I don't know how good those guys are. Let's find out. They're one very even with two teams. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we definitely will. So, Swami, thank you very much for joining me. And we will be back again next week to talk about starts and sits. And, good luck in week 4. I hope you got some good pickups this week. And please, if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe down below. So thanks for joining us and have a great day.